This is Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Ron Rohde, Kentucky Afield's first host back in 1953. Now, I'm proud to present Charlie Baglan.
We learn things as kids that become second nature when we're adults. A musical instrument, a second language, sports. Also on that list for the longest time was fishing. We go inside Outdoors today to see how this sport that merges leisure and finesse with sudden excitement is now focused more on adults. And is it true that good things come to those who bait? We reel in details next on Kentucky Afield Radio. A cold one on a sunny day. What could be more perfect?
My life changed forever when I was 13. That's the day a drunk boater ran me over.
Too many know the cost.
I lost my leg as a result, and a brain injury robbed me of my short-term memory.
Sober boating saves more than lives.
It saves doctor visits, it saves prosthetics, it saves time in court, it saves worry, it saves the pain of a mother, it saves nightmares, it saves time in lawyers' offices, it saves stares everywhere I go. It saves a billion awkward situations. It saves endless surgeries. It saves tears. It saves paperwork. It saves post-traumatic stress. What are you looking at? Sober boating could have saved me. So don't drink and boat.
Something from the cooler? How about an ice-cold regret?
Put that note on your boat in case you forget.
Party on a boat? Save Kentucky Boating and Conservation officers and boating tragedy survivors everywhere. Remind you, sober boating saves lives. Welcome to Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Charlie Baglan. When we look back on our lives, what's the first thing that hits us? Say we're paging through an old magazine or a newspaper, photo album. What's the first thing you notice? Boy, we were sure different then. Our clothes, our hairstyle, the cars we drive, our music. And today we're going to talk about a sport and how it's approached somewhat differently today than it was just, say, 2 generations ago. Fishing. A popular pastime once was always a part of a child's upbringing, is now something that they instead are picking up a little later in life. In the studio are Easton Copley and Samantha Seaton. Together they head the Angler's Legacy program here in Kentucky, very appropriately named. Sam, Easton, welcome.
Thanks for having us, Charlie.
Glad to be here.
The Angler's Legacy program, do I have the name right? It's had a few, but it all boils down to fishing.
Fishing is what we do, that's correct.
What is the name du jour?
Aquatic education is what we go by now, and Angler's Legacy is our main program. That's kind of changed from the past. I know the program we were just speaking of used to deal a lot with kids, and this new Angler's Legacy is kind of geared for adults.
Well, the kids we missed 25 years ago are now adults, right?
That's right. We're trying to get the ones we were trying to get 20 years ago.
And missed. And so now, is it odd to teach adults? Do they learn better or more quickly than kids?
I would say yes, they do, but the issue is that with adults, you can't really corral them together and get a whole group of them like you can with kids. With kids, you can go to a camp or a school where, you've got a big old group of them, and you can just kind of throw that knowledge at them, where adults, they have to want to do it.
That's right.
So is it a one-on-one type of thing or one-on-5, or when you get a group of adults together, is it a mom and dad?
Well, at this point, we're going to take what we can get, but we shoot to have between 5 and 30 at a time. Adults do learn a whole lot better, and they're more interested in it. But like Sam said, getting them to come and getting them to give up their free time, and you got to have a license, so to spend the money on the license. Mm-hmm. It's a little tougher to get them together, but once you get them there, teaching them is a whole lot easier.
Well, what if kids want to learn, or what if parents want to bring their kids? Is that an option?
Yeah. Most of the programs we do, as long as the kid's well-behaved enough to sit and actually go through the class with us, we usually invite the kids out to come with the parents. Are
they like classes you give, or where are these?
It's more of a 2-part thing. The first part is more like a class lecture. We have a PowerPoint, and we kind of go over all of the basics from why we fish, how to set up your own rod and reel, certain species of fish that you can fish for in the States, bait for certain species of fish. And then after they're done with the class, we actually take them out to use the skills that they've learned to actually go fish.
Is that how you learn to fish?
Me personally, no. I was fortunate enough to have a father figure in my life that taught me. So
she's still learning.
Yeah.
That's also true.
Easton, how did you learn to fish?
I grew up fishing, kind of like Sam said. Grandpa, Dad, family, friends.
Yeah. I learned by my grandfather saying, "Here's how you bait a hook," and then toss it into the water and hope a sunfish or bluegill was to bite it.
Right.
I didn't get the chalkboard lecture.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have.
It might have helped.
It would have. There's a lot out there that is involved with fishing that you probably don't realize. It's more than just baiting a hook.
Right.
What is the good age to learn to fish?
In the past, we've taught 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders, and they're at that age where they don't have a choice. If they're there on a field trip, if they're there at camp, they have to learn it. In the 1 year that I've been doing this, the change that I've seen is if you get kids that are a little older, a little more invested when they're around 15, 16, they have the choice to go do whatever they want. So if they choose to come fish, they want to learn.
I don't think you're ever too young to get the passion.
Everybody, I don't care how old you are, starts as a beginner.
Right.
That's the one thing I guess fishing has in common with everybody that does it. Oh, Sam, I did see a beautiful photograph of you on the Fish and Wildlife webpage. Everyone should go see this. When you go to the Education tab and go to, was it fishing, and look under Angler's Legacy?
Yeah, it's under Aquatic Education.
What kind of fish is that you're kissing?
That is a largemouth bass I caught on the Elkhorn Creek.
Nice. Nice.
And she's kissing it.
It's a real deal.
That's a real deal. That brings luck.
Did you keep the fish or throw them back?
I threw them back.
There was a time when everybody grew up learning to fish. Anybody that grew up in Kentucky, chances are as a kid, learned to fish.
That's right.
Is that no longer the case?
Not at all.
Who is it?
And it depends on what part of the state you're in. We did a class last night at Moorhead and had a young girl. She's probably 16, 17 years old, and we said something about there's people that don't know how to fish and kids that are your age that have never fished. And she said, well, I don't understand. That's what we did growing up. We went fishing.
Yeah.
But that's not the same for everybody. There's still parts of the state that I think that's what they do, but far less than it used to be.
Is your program correcting this at all?
Slowly but surely. The people that we've had come through the program have loved it, and a lot of them have been, I used to fish when I was a kid growing up, and I moved away and had kids and didn't fish, and now they're wanting to get back into fishing to freshen up on it, relearn how to do it so that they'll be able to take their kids.
Sam, what are you expected to know when you come into one of these classes?
Expected to know?
Yeah, is there things you need to know in advance?
No, not at all. Just know that you're going to have a good time and you're going to learn something that day.
If you come in with a fishing license and an open mind, you'll leave knowing how to fish.
Nice. And so is fishing actually a part of this? You have the classroom part, and then you go to the local lake pond, Finn's Lake?
Yep. A lot of times we try to set them up like at local libraries. We'll have the class one day at the library. It's about 2 hours. And then we'll come back the following week and meet you at the lake and fish. So we give you a chance to learn it, and we give you a chance to actually do it.
There was a time, and I hate to keep referencing the program as it used to be, but I remember when it started out, there was this retired Air Force pilot who did this. He said he had two loves. He wanted to fly and he wanted to hunt and fish. But he did them both. And he loved this program. And I remember I would go on some of these with some of your predecessors, Mark Johnson and Lonnie Nelson were their names. Now, this is going back, dating myself, but I don't mind. They would go out to stream and seine the thing, and they would look for hellgrammites and whatever bugs and frogs and lizards and salamanders, whatever might be out there that would float into this net. Does that still exist?
Not as much as it used to be, and we still get a few calls, people wanting to do that. Usually we pass that on to biologists or educators if they want to get out and mingle with the public. As of right now, the aquatic education is more about the actual fishing. What's the best time of year to learn? Late spring, early summer, when the bluegill are really biting, is probably the most fun time to learn. And if you're catching fish, you're learning. So, can you fish in the heat of summer? Oh, yeah. Yep. You can fish any day of the year. They have to eat every day. On this program,
week after week after week, I'll have 3 different Kentucky fisheries biologists on, and they'll give the fisheries report. And, buddy, when it gets August, they'll say, it's just those summer doldrums. Mm-hmm. And those are the words they use. And it's not spring and it's not fall. Mm-hmm. Fish are trying to fatten up. But they're still out there. And in the event we are fishing in fall or fishing in the late heat of summer, is there the same spots? Do they change as the seasons change?
They do a little bit. We usually try to use our Fins Lakes for these classes. Fins Lakes are great because they're open to the public. Anybody can go there, and they're stocked regularly, so we know there's fish in there. It's just a matter of getting them to bite.
Great fishing. It's what makes Kentucky a keeper. We will have more in a minute. You are listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back on Kentucky Afield Radio. It's Charlie Baglan. Sam Seaton, Easton Copley are both in the studio with me. They head the Angler's Legacy program in Kentucky. You might call it Fishing 101, a class that is open to kids, but more geared for adults. Again, if I'm just starting to fish, or if I'm just starting to golf or play tennis, I want to have a little success when I start out. If I start out and I don't catch anything, or it's frustrating, guess what? I'm going to go on to something else.
That's right.
So you want to go to places where the fish are going to bite.
Yeah, we teach where to fish, and that's kind of just basically an outline of our Fins Lakes, local streams, local rivers that hold fish, and where to look for the fish at. So, like you said, you want a high catch rate when you start just to get the hang of it. You don't really care what species it is. So a lot of times we'll target panfish or crappie, and if you can get on a mess of crappie or get the panfish really biting, you can have a lot of fun quick.
Mm-hmm. Lee McClellan with the Kentucky Afield magazine loves to fish and commented the other day that the Fins Lakes, they're stocked with catfish and trout. And trout especially are an easy fish to catch. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
Yes. We had a class, the Becoming an Outdoor Woman class here on Saturday. And within the first 15 or 20 minutes, we hadn't got a bite from the bluegill. And Andrew, my partner, took off the bobber and cast it out and let it sink to the bottom. And by the end of the day, we had like 35 trout.
That's a bunch.
And all these people that had not fished before coming out to learn how to fish. And we had one lady catch her limit and take that home, and she had dinner that night. So.
It's nice to have fish that cooperate. Mm-hmm. That's not always the case.
Never.
Yep.
Is there a good time of day to fish? You know, if you're going to hunt for deer, you wouldn't go out at 1 in the afternoon.
Correct.
What's a good time to fish?
Early morning or late in the evening is the best, but if you can get out there after work, go home and grab a quick bite to eat and head out, the last 2 hours before dark is probably the best.
Let me back up to the Fins Lakes. That's something that I shouldn't just gloss over.
Right.
Talk about what they are, where they are. What do you think, Sam?
Well, ideally, the fishing in the neighborhoods lakes, that's what FIN stands for, is to provide fishing access to people in more urban areas. So I know that Louisville, which is where I mostly work in, we have a lot of Fins Lakes, and it just gives an opportunity for people that can't really get out to the bigger lakes like Taylorsville Lake or Lake Barkley, Kentucky Lake, any of those places like that. It kind of gives them an opportunity to be able to fish without driving, 3 hours.
I've said it here on this show, they're stocked and ready to rock.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And are some of these lakes like, let's say Lake Cumberland and Kentucky Lake and Barkley, the big boys out there, are they intimidating? Is that a good place to learn, or should you go to a pond or stream or a Fins Lake?
Farm ponds are by far the best place to learn, in my eyes. If you can find a landowner that will give you permission to come in and fish, that's a concentrated area of fish. It gets very little pressure. Mm-hmm. And the pressure at the Fins Lakes is increasing, which is what we want. But if you can go to a farm pond that's not pressured, it's the best place to learn.
Let's compare Lake Cumberland to a Fins Lake. Is a Fins Lake going to be better for a beginner to fish?
Yes. You can walk around the whole lake at most of them. You have easy bank access, and you can look at the lake and see spots where people have been fishing, benches where people have been sitting, and it's a lot easier to walk around the bank of a Fins Lake than it is Cumberland or Barkley.
No, for sure.
You can take a look at fishing. You said you had this lecture that you teach people about fishing and the regulations. As many different kinds of baits as there are, sinkers as there are, hooks, lures, bobbers, boats, fishing poles, rods, reels. It's endless. That's why they have these huge stores that sell all this. Does it matter? Can you learn with any of it?
Yeah, it's a good topic. We talk about kind of being overwhelmed, even in Walmart, as little as a Walmart store is compared to like a Cabela's or a Dick's, about how easy it is to get overwhelmed. And we always try to think, just keep it simple. We'll teach you the different sizes of hooks that are available, the different purposes for them. We cover basically a split shot sinker, which is pinch it on and go. There's no fancy knot for it or anything like that.
Yeah, you have to be a Boy Scout to know some of these knots.
We take care of the knots as well. We'll take care of the knots.
So there are a lot of pieces of equipment, but if you just had a king pole, a split shot, a hook, and a bobber,
you're good to go. You can catch more bluegill like that than you can with all the fancy stuff.
My wife retired, and I bought her, I bet I spent close to $16.95 on a rod and reel for her. She's used it 3 or 4 times, caught fish every time.
Yep.
It's a nice little outfit. It has Snoopy on it. You don't have to go in debt. You really don't.
And, boats are fun, but boats are expensive. And kayaks are even expensive. Kayak fishing is a whole new world that's just opening up. You don't even have to have a kayak to fish. So
you can spend as much money as you want to, or as little, for fishing.
That's right. A $20 license and a $20 pole, and you're good to go.
For the Finns Lake, if you keep the trout, do you need to have the trout stamp?
Yes.
What's that add to the price tag?
$10. If you get the sportsman's package or the senior license, the trout stamp's included.
Do you teach patience? Is that a teachable thing? Are you a patient person, Samantha? Are you patient when you're teaching patience?
I guess it depends on what day it is and how I'm feeling, but I think patience comes with desire, I mean, if it's something that I don't want to do, like waiting in traffic, but, I think being out there, enjoying just being outdoors and connecting with nature, I think most people have when I say most, but I would hope most people would have more patience for that.
I'm always ready to catch the fish.
That's right.
But I've got to do it on the fish's schedule.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of it is more of what you look for going into the trip. If you're going out to relax and get away from work and try to catch some fish, that's one thing. And you're going to be a lot more patient because you're relaxing, you're not working. But if you're going out there to catch your limit every time, it can be more stressful.
I've heard more anglers say, and this is men and women, say, I had the best time on the lake, and I never caught a thing.
Yep.
What do most people that you teach inherently do wrong? And I wonder if it goes back to that, I'm impatient, bite now or I'm going to go play baseball.
A big one that I see is people that are constantly casting and then reeling it back in, casting and reeling back in. I mean, unless you're bass fishing, like that's not gonna work in a Finns Lake. You really got to let it sit out there and kind of give the fish a chance to notice that it's in its environment. So I notice that a lot, and I notice with kids a lot, they'll let the line get tied around their pole because they're swinging it around like it's a sword or something. So
that P word again, patience.
I had a cousin once who said, I went fishing and wanted to have a good time. Instead, I lost 17 lures. And these were AC shiners and jitterbugs and rapalas.
That's what it's like when you fish with Sam.
The evils of fishing can take form in many ways, like lost lures, the evils of snags, the big ones that got away, the drudgery of no bites at all. All can happen in fishing.
I've been down all those roads multiple times.
Is that something you teach going into it? You got to remember, this is fishing, it's not catching.
Yeah, every time you throw something out, whether it's a bobber and a hook or a $20 lure, there's a chance it's not coming back.
I wish I could remember. I would have the district biologist on, and I said, what's the key to getting away with a lie about how big a fish you caught? And if I could listen back to some old shows, they had some priceless. Do you teach people how to stretch the truth when it comes to... Why not?
It's all about the angle. So everybody wants to see a picture. And depending on how you hold the fish and how you hold the camera, now we don't teach that. That might be something that the Kentucky Afield guys could cover.
And I've seen them do it too often to count. And I know if you take a small fish and hold it way far away from you, in perspective, it does look like that fish is huge.
That's right.
So that's one trick.
Yep, it's all about the angle.
Well, make sure that you include that.
We'll make sure to add a slide on the PowerPoint.
That would absolutely be hysterical. Introduce me to the process of fishing. What's the first few things that you teach?
One of the first slides is kind of why we're here. What is fishing besides catching fish? We talk about it's a good time to get out and relax. It's a good time to spend with family, and it's a good way to catch dinner. Kind of the three things we push first off. Another important thing is licensing. People complain, well, I'm going to come to this class, why do I have to buy your license? Well, we want to tell them that license is what gives us the ability to come and teach you this stuff. Those are our main two things that we start out with before we get into actual fishing.
I'm going to walk out onto the creek bank. What do I need to know at that point?
Whose property you're on, if you have permission to be there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because you have to respect the property owner rights. And I guess that would come under maybe a heading of ethics. Where do ethics come in for fishing? Respecting property owners' rights.
Respecting the animal.
Yeah, the regulation itself. Don't keep an undersized fish.
Right. Don't keep a fish out of water for too long.
Respecting somebody else's fishing holes.
The fishing line recycling program ought to be mentioned here. Not just the fish, but turtles and geese and ducks that may happen along. They can get tangled in that.
Yeah, there's a goose out here right now that's, we saw that had some line wrapped around its leg the other day when we were working. So just pick up after yourself.
The subject today is the ABCs of fishing. Up next, how kayak fishing is giving new anglers a new way to approach the sport. Plus, our fishing report is standing by. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. Back in our second half hour is Charlie Baglan. If you would like to hear this show again or share it with someone who would like to take up the sport of fishing, the link is easily found. First is go to our Facebook page. There you can like us, keep up with us, find our weekly links. You can go to YouTube as well. Just put Kentucky Afield Radio in the search box. And we are on iTunes podcast. Find us there. We'll have more with our Angler's Legacy program. First up, our fishing report.
Hi, this is John Williams with a fishing report for Southeast Kentucky. With the recent rains in the last couple of weeks, all of our lakes are pretty high. At Lake Cumberland, there's a lot of floating debris, so be careful there. It is prime time for night bite on stripers, on surface baits. Also might pick up a walleye casting surface baits at night, so give that a try. Also in the tailwater, Krill Clerk's report, seeing quite a few trout, especially rainbow trouts, mostly stalker-sized trouts, and also some brook trout. Those are being caught on inline spinners, and also spoons are the ticket there. Also seeing a few brown trout in the mix. Elsewhere, trout are being stocked in Rock Creek this week, and as always, good luck, good fishing.
Hi, this is Kevin Fry with your Eastern Fisheries Report. Recent flooding had many lakes above Summer Pool in affecting fishing success. Paintsville and Yatesville lakes did not have the flooding, and shallow shoreline fishing remained consistent. On other lakes, there's still some floating debris for boaters to watch for. Largemouth bass fishing reports are fair to good and improving. Weather patterns have delayed and drawn out spawning or nesting. Anglers reporting increasing numbers of paired bass. Crankbaits, plastics, and spinnerbaits working well. Catfish anglers reporting good fishing on cut bait on rod and reel and jugs. Dewey Lake is producing nice-sized blue catfish. A few walleye still in daytime catches at Carr Creek. Upper Lake areas at Yatesville, also decent white crappie catches. If trying a smaller lake for good-sized crappie, Cranks Creek Lake would be a good one to try.
This is Tom with your fishing report from the Northeast. Cavern Lake is sitting right at summer pool levels with temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s. Anglers are still catching muskie on the lake, and given the results from last weekend's tournaments, they're still catching some nice fish. Target the shallows and the backs of the coves for the muskie. Largemouth bass are also up and shallow. The upper portion of the lake near Banger and Poppin' Rock was holding a lot of nicer fish during our last electrofishing survey, and the middle and lower sections of the lake actually turned out some nicer, larger smallmouth bass as well. Crappie seem a little scattered, but I'd still be targeting the brush with minnows and jigs. Grayson Lake is also sitting right at summer pool levels with temperatures in the 60s. The Bruin portion of the lake is holding tons of fish right now, from crappie to largemouth and even some hybrid. So if you're fishing Grayson, the Bruin area of the lake is the place to target. This is the time of the year to be out on the water. Wherever you go, good luck and stay safe.
For Mother's Day, how many moms would like to go fishing? What if I said, for Mother's Day, family time, real conversations?
Perfect.
That's more like it. And that's what happens when you fish. You catch up on life. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife says learn more about lakes near your family that are stocked and ready to hook memories this Mother's Day at fw.ky.gov.
Do I have class today? My memory's not what it used to be, but there is one thing that I'll never forget. Once upon a time, I had my whole life ahead of me. Then, I was hit by a drunk boater. My brain injuries were severe. I was 13. Now, I make notes for the simplest reminders. Like this: if you boat, boat sober.
Kentucky Boating and Conservation Officers
and survivors of boating tragedies remind you.
Sober boating saves lives. Baglan back in our second half hour on Kentucky Afield Radio. Teaching the sport of fishing to beginners is a subject that we have covered on this show over the years several times, and I like where the years have taken it. Originally, it was merely for children. Today, it's transitioned more to adults. Samantha Seaton and Easton Copley are my guests. The program is free. All you need is a fishing license, and then it's all about the basics.
You know, the basics are the basics, but when you get into actually where you're going to be fishing, there is different strategies we teach, different things we tell people to look for. You know, in a stream, you want to look for a riffle or a big rock that sticks out of the water. A current break, a lot of times fish hang out in the current breaks. In a pond, you want to look more for structure, rocky banks or maybe a tree in the water, shade of a dock. There's some different things we talk about depending on where we're at.
In the Angler's Legacy program, we do float classes as well. We've been doing a lot of work with Canoe Kentucky. It's a 3-day class where you first teach them how to fish, do the basics, how to tie a hook on, you know, how to put your bait on. Then the second class would be how to kayak, so how to be able to maneuver the kayak and get where you need to go. And then the third class, we put it all together, and then we teach them how to fish from their kayak, and we usually do it on Elkhorn Creek.
Kayak fishing has to be the greatest thing to come down the stream in a while for fishing. Are you seeing that too?
I like the pun there. Yeah, everybody's excited to kayak fish. 10 years ago, if you went to Walmart, you wouldn't see a kayak, and now there's 15 of them.
Well, I wish this was around 20 years ago when you had to go to the specialty store to buy these, and they were, you know, pricey. Now, not as much so. You appreciated the pun. I spent most of my adult life in the field of advertising. And years ago, we did this commercial, and it was called Catchphrases. And it was about catchphrases of fishing. And we were trying to entice people to pick up a pole and learn to fish or go fishing. They haven't done it in a while. And I wonder, do these things come up when you teach how fishing is simply a part of our vocabulary? We take the bait for something. We like something hook, line, and sinker. We try to lure somebody in. All these are catchphrases that we use around the fishing industry. Are you able to use those to show that, you know, you already know the vocabulary? Now you just need to know how to do it.
It does make sense.
I try to use it, but I just like a good pun, so.
Do you teach to catch and keep? Do you teach catch and release?
We do cover that. One of our classes is actually called Hook and Cook. So that's a basic fishing 101 class. And we're going to teach you how to fish. Then we're going to teach you how to clean fish. And then we're going to teach you how to cook fish. That's a 1-day class, and we cover all the fun stuff and eat some fish. So for that class, we definitely do teach catch and keep. Most of the other classes we teach catch and release. But we always tell them, know your limits and have a stringer and a cooler ice or however you want to get them home.
Hook and cook.
Hook and Cook.
That is the best named program I've heard in quite a while.
That's probably one of my favorite days to work.
So you are an instructor, both of you are instructors in Hook and Cook?
Yes.
Yes.
How often are these classes held, and where can anybody find out more about it?
You can find out about them on our website. If you click on the Education tab and then under Aquatic Education, we usually try to hold 2 or 3 a year, simply because they take a lot of time to plan, take a lot of staff to run. It costs us a lot of money to provide the fish, so we try to have 2 or 3 big ones a year. The next one coming up we have is May 20th, and that's going to be in Louisville. And we're going to have one in Western Kentucky, I think, at the end of August. So we do try to spread them out quite a bit. So the first part of the class is going to be at the Southwest Public Library in Louisville, and we're going to spend a couple hours there going over basic fishing stuff. And we're going to break and go to Waverly Lake in Louisville, and that's one of our Fins lakes. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have the setup there to cook the fish, so we're going to have lunch there. And then after we eat lunch, then we'll cover how to clean the fish. And, everybody will have the opportunity to try to clean one if they want. And once all that's over and done with, then we'll take a few poles and try to fish.
The Department of Fish and Wildlife has a similar program for those learning to hunt.
Field to Fork.
Field to Fork and Hook and Cook pretty much cover the bases.
Mm-hmm. Right. So they're now doing the Field to Fork with deer and turkey hunting. Mm-hmm. And I've heard talk about maybe a waterfowl.
That'd be great. Reaching out to new people and get them involved. That's the name of the game.
If there's something in the outdoors that you want to learn how to do, we probably teach a class on it. And if we don't, we can make one for you.
Talking about opportunities to learn in the outdoors, and you mentioned this earlier in the show, the Becoming an Outdoorswoman program has long been, and this goes back to the early 90s, a great program to get women involved in the outdoors.
Oh, for sure.
Fishing has always been a part of that. Mm-hmm. So you're active in the BOW program.
Yes. And it's a really cool program because you get people that want to be there and want to learn. And not only are they learning about the outdoors, they're making friends. We see a lot of people, hey, let me get your number, let's get together on Facebook and let's go together and kayak, or let's go together and hunt one day.
Mm-hmm. There's statistics saying that women are becoming more and more active in this. And now we have a community of like-minded, individuals that we can kind of partner up with and do stuff with.
And when people see you or hear your name and say, hey, there's a girl involved in this, does that, you think, trigger more women?
I think that makes them more comfortable with it, and I think, that would inspire them, well, if she can do it, why can't I do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've seen a whole lot higher female participation in our aquatic education programs. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our Angler's Legacy classes, a lot of the kayak fishing stuff, there's a lot more women that sign up to take these classes than men.
It's not just a man's world out there. Maybe it was in the day of Daniel Boone, I'm not sure. But today, women certainly have a place in the wild outdoors. And one thing I like about this, not to stray far from the subject, but since the advent of such things as the Becoming an Outdoorswoman program, you're seeing equipment and clothing more geared for women, and they don't have to wear something of their husbands or their brothers. They can go out there and they can be fitted themselves. They want waders to go out into the stream and fish.
Absolutely.
And so you have all that.
I dabble in both. Just there are some things that they make better for men than they do for women. But, it's nice to be able to, wear shoes and a pair of pants that actually fit you properly. So
the Angler Legacy program, is there a fee?
The only fee you have to pay is your fishing license.
And if you already have that,
then you're good to go.
You're good to go.
Yep, as long as you have a valid license. As of right now, that's how it is, and I think it's going to stay that way for a little while. Just to get people to come out, you have to invest something in the program, and we feel that if you're going to come learn how to fish, you're going to have to buy a license anyways. So to have a license in order to participate, we feel like it's pretty fair right now.
Let's say, and we'll say that I am going to fish in a farm pond. Best pole?
Whatever pole you have. Any pole will catch a fish.
Best bait?
A night crawler or a wax worm.
Best time of day?
Early morning, late evening.
Last 2 hours of daylight.
Mm-hmm.
Best time of year?
Late spring.
Worst time of year?
When it's about 3 degrees outside and the pond's frozen.
Best fish to eat?
I like crappie quite a bit.
How about walleye? Where's it rank?
Right under crappie.
The best food I swear I've ever put in my mouth is walleye.
Really? You like it better than crappie?
I think I do, but if you want to, I'll come to a hook and cook.
There you go.
And I'll have to taste. What do you cook what you hook, right, at the hook and cooks, or do you?
Yeah, we usually bring the fish in with us, but if a participant catches a fish and wants to clean it, and we'll throw it in the grease, we'll fry it right up for them.
Mm-hmm. This is a big state, and there are just two of you. Do you have volunteers, or how do you implement your program around the 120 counties?
I'm lucky enough right now to have a grant-funded position. Andrew's working that with us, and then I've got Sam and Katie, and so that leaves 4 of us to cover the whole state, and it's a lot of work, especially the spring. We're working 6 days a week, almost every week. Working 12, 13-hour days sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's say that there are county parks out and about, and in these parks there would be some Finns lakes. Is there personnel there that can be trained?
A lot of times we reach out to those parks because they come to us to get gear. So we've got a loaner program where if you're going to have kids out, or if you're going to have adults out fishing and they need equipment, we will provide you the equipment to give them. And a lot of times state parks, community parks will have staff that's in charge of that. And if we can get one of them to come to our hook and cook or an Angler's Legacy class and learn how to fish, then they're all the more qualified to help.
They can, in turn, go back and teach people at their parks.
Exactly.
And you, I hope that happens.
Hopefully, yes. The Teacher's Tackle Box is, like you said, kind of a volunteer program. The kids' programs, and honestly, it just got to be too much for us. There wasn't enough of us to keep up with the demand of kids that needed us. So we've created this Teacher's Tackle Box, and that's basically the basic fishing, the Angler's Legacy class. We target teachers with this in hopes that the teachers will learn how to fish and be able to take their kids out in the classroom, basically.
How full is your calendar now? All right, let's say June, July, August, when kids are off school, parents may have a little extra time. How full is your calendar now?
June's pretty full. July and August are slower right now, but I have no doubt that they will fill up.
Yeah, usually as we get closer to the months, we somehow find more and more things to do.
There is a website, and I looked on there, and you can search by date and by city, and what are the search criteria you can stick in there and see what's going on near you?
On our calendar, if you search fishing events or non-boating events, that will bring up all the fishing derby type stuff. Educational seminars or workshops is where all of our Angler's Legacy classes are.
So you have a hand in all of this, or just parts of this?
In all of it. I've only got 2 hands, but sometimes I wonder.
The Angler's Legacy program, the topic today, if you're a leader, say at your church, at your school, a scout troop, or you're just a fun mom or dad around your neighborhood, how you can learn this and then teach others. Back with our final few. Stay with us. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. Kentucky Afield Radio, Charlie Baglan. We're back with our final few minutes with 2 of my favorite people, Easton Copley and Samantha Seaton with the Angler's Legacy program. I looked on your website and I saw this Catching the Fishing Fever, the basic fishing book. There was a chapter in there that I had never given much thought to. It was all about fishing safety. What safety issues do people need to pay attention to? Besides getting the hook in your finger, baiting your finger.
You took the first one I was going to say. Well, a lot of things people don't think about is, you're going to be outside probably in the heat for a long time. So you want to make sure that you've got sunscreen on, you've got a hat on. Sunglasses are really important because of the sun reflecting off the water. You could actually really hurt your eyes like that. And, don't get dehydrated. You might be by a bunch of water, but you can't drink that, so make sure you keep some water on you. A
lot of the people, when you tell them about safety, and with hunter education, you have a weapon, obviously safety's important,
sure.
But with fishing, you're around water. God forbid you fall in and bump your head, or something happens with the boat and you get stranded. It's really important to tell somebody where you're at and when you plan to be home.
And wear your life jacket, I trust.
That's right.
Make sure you tell somebody where you're going and stay on that route.
Right.
Or stay on that path. You put in and then take out a few miles downstream. Don't venture off going someplace else. People worry back home.
Mm-hmm.
Antiseptic seems like would be a good thing to have in your tackle box. You've got dirt on your hands of every manner, and you could puncture yourself with a fishing hook or slice it with a knife. Do you go over the basics of first aid?
We cover a little bit of it, and it's important to clean your cuts out, especially if you're dealing with worms or chicken liver. It is important to clean your cuts out and get something to cover them until you get home.
Are there certain ages that you're reaching out to? Do you find them in groups? Are there like senior citizens, retirees? Do you reach college kids?
Well, last year, we pretty much tried to reach whoever would have us. And then we would also focus a lot on college students. An adult, you've got a little bit more freedom. You may not have a whole bunch of money, but you definitely have a lot of time. That's who we were reaching before. This year, we're doing all that and then also reaching out towards teachers, educators, anybody that spends a lot of time with a lot of children that wants to teach them how to fish. Actually, I've got an event scheduled in Louisville in June with the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Kentuckiana program. I contacted them, and we're going to set up an event where the bigs and littles will be able to take the classes together.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so hopefully that'll strengthen their relationship and also get them fishing.
Like she said, college students they're somewhat concentrated. Go to the university campus and find them. A lot of them are relocated from home. They may come from Western Kentucky and go to Northern Kentucky University, and they don't know where to fish around there. They don't have their equipment, but they'd be willing to come out and learn how to fish or take you up on your offer to let them use your gear. College kids are fun. We have a kayak class that we do with Eastern students, and we teach them how to fish, and then they teach them kayak safety, and we go kayak fishing. So
kayak fishing, I would have been all over that if I was in college. You mentioned Northern. I went to Northern Kentucky University, great school. And that would have been a great place to get out there, let's say float down the Licking River and in a kayak. I would have loved that. That opportunity wasn't provided for me.
Me either.
Yeah, me neither. So
that would have to be more of a hook, if you will, than learning to fish. We're going to go in a kayak.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm all over that.
Yep. And working with Canoe Kentucky, they've really helped us get over the hurdle of, well, we don't have kayaks. We can put you in kayaks.
Talking about this equipment, if you need to buy a kayak or rent it or what, you mentioned a while ago that you have equipment. Does somebody who is going to learn to fish, they need to come in with a license, but do they need to have a well-equipped tackle box and a pole and all that? What do you provide for them?
All you have to bring is your license. We've got a couple different types of rods and reels that we can let you use for the class, and we cover the basics of artificial baits and the basics of hooks and bobbers. So when you leave the class, if you go into Walmart, you'll understand a lot more of what you're looking at and what you think you may need.
And as for the loaner program, we say we've got a group of people that want to go fishing, and they don't need us, but they do need the equipment. We'll give them racks of 8 poles or so, give them a couple of racks, a tackle box if they need it, and sometimes bait, and just kind of let them do their thing, and they return those back to us.
How long do they have? The weekend, or is it a day, or what, really?
As long as they need it.
It just depends. A lot of people that use our equipment loaner program, city or county parks, or Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts that have fishing camp, or Boy Scout camps. Fishing is part of their activities. So their camp might be a week long, and we'll provide equipment all week for them.
You must have a lot of equipment. Where does the equipment come from? I'm wondering if Shakespeare or Zebco or some of the Trilene or somebody may make donations of equipment just for this purpose. No?
Unfortunately, no.
Well, maybe they'll hear that and take the hint.
Yeah, please give us stuff.
Hint.
I don't know how in the world you all could have a free minute with the careers that you have. So clearly you both love fishing. That's clear to see on your face. But there's only 24 hours in a day. It's only a 3-month summer, but this goes on.
And we're supposed to work 7.5 hours of those days.
Oh, yeah. There's no way. It'd be a fisherman and just work 7.5. It can't be done. I am grateful on behalf of everybody who has learned to fish, and if you're 8 or 80, it doesn't matter. I appreciate the work that you do. For anybody, again, who wants to know a little bit more, can they call you, email you, go online, what?
Yeah, email is the best way to reach anybody in aquatic ed. Like, we've talked about for the past hour. We are always out of office, always running, but we can check email on the go. So email is the best way to get a hold of us. Easton.Copley@ky.gov.
You'll have to spell Easton.Copley.
EASTON.Copley, COPLEY@ky.gov.
And
Samantha?
Mine is Samantha.Seaton@ky.gov. That's SEATON. And I focus on the Louisville area, so if you've got any kind of you all that want to talk to me, please do.
Yeah. Sam, Easton, thanks a million for coming in.
Thanks for having us, Charlie.
I appreciate the opportunity.
If fishing is new to you, or if you're like a bunch of just let that rod and reel collect dust while your life got in the way, here's a tip that can save you the expense of buying a fishing license. The first weekend of June 3 and 4, that's Saturday and Sunday, is what we call free fishing days here in Kentucky. No license is required. All the other regulations like size and creel limits still apply, but you can put that few bucks you would otherwise spend on the license back in your pocket. Free fishing days, June 3 and 4. Circle it. We are out of time. It's Charlie Baglan inviting you to join us in a week, and we'll go inside outdoors again here on Kentucky Afield Radio.